The cultural expectation of the military home front is built on images like this. We picture tearful dockside goodbyes, the steadfast promise to hold down the fort, and the absolute trust required to survive a war zone. But the reality of returning home is rarely that simple. Picture the frozen trenches of a winter deployment in 2026. The air burns your lungs, and the mud has a permanent icy crust. Out there, survival is tethered to a single worn photograph of a fiancé and a best friend. Imagine surviving that hell, taking a train back to your hometown, and finding no welcome party. Instead, you walk up the driveway to find your best friend's car parked behind your fiancé's. You look through the window and see them moving with an easy, domestic rhythm. She is wearing a wedding ring. When the reason for survival, that single photograph, is replaced by a wedding ring on someone else's hand, the soldier's entire support system is dismantled from the inside out. This dismantling is a symptom of a statistically predictable pattern of homefront betrayal. Society assumes the battlefield poses the primary threat to a service member's life. We train for combat, expecting the greatest danger to wear an enemy uniform. Research indicates up to 32% of military wives report extramarital affairs during a deployment, towering over civilian baselines. The catalyst becomes clear when mapping the frequency of military relocations. Over a 10-year period, constant moves correlate directly with steep rises in unfaithfulness. The environmental pressures of military service exploit human frailty. The home front functions as a secondary battlefield, complete with its own measurable casualty rate. To understand why this happens, we have to look past the idealized patriotism of military marriage. When a warship departs, it leaves behind two flawed human beings, separated by thousands of miles and immense emotional strain. Spouses left behind face specific vulnerabilities. They experience role overload, assuming all parenting and household duties alone. Months of isolation breed profound loneliness. Over time, these environmental factors chip away at personal boundaries. A depressed, overwhelmed spouse might meet someone and step over a line, often experiencing intense guilt regarding the soldier deployed in harm's way. A military title, ideological buy-in, or genuine patriotism cannot protect a marriage against basic human needs and severe depression. Good people break under enough pressure. The military apparatus relies on the assumption that ideological loyalty will endlessly override this extreme isolation. The system largely ignores basic human psychological limits, and the troops pay the price. When a soldier returns to this shattered reality, they move from personal heartbreak into the rigid machinery of military bureaucracy. There is no pause to grieve. This flowchart maps the three legal elements required to prove an Article 134 adultery charge. Under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, adultery is a prosecutable offense, carrying penalties, including a dishonorable discharge, if the conduct prejudices good order and discipline. Yet, while the military outlaws adultery, a financial paradox exists for the betrayed soldier. A commanding officer can legally order that soldier to provide a pro rata share of their housing allowance to support the unfaithful spouse. Up to 1/3 of the soldier's gross military pay can be redirected to the person who broke the marriage. Stopping these mandatory payments requires the soldier to navigate a complex burden of proof. They must demonstrate that the spouse's income exceeds their own gross military pay, or prove they have been legally separated for a full 12 months while continuing to pay support. The military legal system traps the betrayed service member. They're forced to legally and financially underwrite the destruction of their own life while navigating a dense bureaucratic maze. The fallout extends far beyond a single broken marriage. The compounding casualties of homefront betrayal create a cascading crisis for the entire military institution. Infidelity triggers secondary physical and legal crises. Medical records show high rates of STD transmissions to troops returning from deployment, which in turn sparks contentious child custody battles that destabilize entire units. The professional and psychological toll is measurable. At intelligence agencies, half of all security clearance revocations are tied to affair scandals. 55% of veterans with PTSD experience severe exacerbation of their symptoms due to spousal betrayal. Roughly 75% of these marriages end in divorce within months of a return. This widespread instability at home creates a measurable impact on unit morale and troop readiness. For the individual veteran who comes home to a dismantled support system, the only path forward is to walk away. They must leave behind the version of themselves they were before the war began. Redefining home is an agonizing psychological process. It requires building a new life when the very people you fought for are the ones who burned down the foundation. The mission changes. Home is no longer a physical place or a specific person, but a sense of purpose built from within. It is a quiet, personal battle fought to find meaning beyond the shadow of loss. Society and the military must abandon the idealized myth of the home front. By acknowledging the statistical realities of deployment, we can prepare returning troops for the harsh truth. Their greatest battle for survival may